Sonic Generations on the HD consoles does a lot to rectify the past, but how does Sonic Generations on the 3DS fare? Thank you for tuning in. This is DJ Bob Fresh from SegaShiro.com, your Sega resource, and this is a video review of Sonic Generation on Nintendo's newest handheld. Classic and modern Sonic return again in the 3DS version, yet the difference between them isn't as pronounced as it was on the HD consoles. The modern Sonic sections in this game play more like the Sonic Rush titles than the 3D Dreamcast levels that they do in the home console versions. To further add to this fact, classic Sonic becomes a little less differentiated from modern Sonic when he gains the homing attack partway through the game. And while some of those facts may anger longtime fans, truth be told, this is one of the better handheld Sonics to come around in a while. With only 7 stages, the game initially feels short. The main storyline can be conquered in as little as one night, however, the game doesn't really end there. The real meat of this game is in conquering all the levels and getting the S ranks, so what you really want to do is find different pathways through the game's level design to find the quickest, fastest path to shave seconds off your time. Speedrunners will get a real kick out of this game. Sega's also included 100 or so missions, which are miniaturized versions of the levels where you have one focus in mind. For example, on one level you may ask to be killed 20 or so enemies within a time limit. These missions also have all of their own unlocks, so you'll unlock different songs as well as different art pieces and add to the longevity of the game. With only 7 stages in the game, the real standouts to me were Mushroom Hill, Green Hill Zone, and Tropical Resort. The special stages are also quite a bit of fun, however they are a little easy, but after the special levels in Sonic 4, I'm not going to complain too much. Boss encounters follow a similar formula to Sonic Generations on home consoles. Some are straight one-on-one fights while others are chase sequences. Like the console version, I was left wanting a little bit more in terms of these sequences. However, that could be applied to the whole game, as I would have liked a few more missions as well. It also has to be said that the final boss sequence in the 3DS version is actually much more competent than the one on the Xbox 360 or PS3. It's just makes more sense and it's more fun to play. Sonic Generations is an interesting game in terms of graphics. Trust me when I say that the footage that you're watching does not do the game justice. When you're playing the game in a slow, plodding kind of fashion, the textures will seem a little bit simple and the graphics will seem a little straightforward when you look at it or compare it against something like Mario. However, in 3D, in full speed, the game is actually very stunning to look at and quite pretty. Interestingly, this is one of the few games that I thought looked way better in 3D than it does in 2D on the 3DS. And unlike many other games I've played on the 3DS, this is one that I perpetually kept in 3D as I was playing it. And while the modern sections don't quite capture the same feel as the console versions, they did actually do a marvelous job of tilting the camera and giving you new angles to look at the experience as you're racing through the level and timing your jumps. Simply put, it's hard not to be impressed with Sonic Generations when you see the game in motion and in full flight and in 3D. The level design really starts to sparkle when you get farther and are doing the game's levels over again. However, there are the occasional issue every now and then. Occasionally I'd find myself landing on what looked to be a stable platform only to fall through. Didn't happen very often, but the few times it did happen seemed kind of odd and pulled me out of the experience. At times, as modern Sonic, the rush style of gameplay seems to reward just simply boosting into the oncoming screen without knowing what's coming. On the one hand, it feels kind of rewarding because it feels like you're flying through the levels. On the other hand, the more paced approach of classic Sonic is what fans have been arguing for years. Sonic Generations also includes local, multiplayer, and internet battles. The time attack section will also give you access to ranked leaderboards as well. The game also includes a profile card feature which will detail certain aspects of your gameplay time, like the number of missions you've played, your total collection percentage, the number of rings you've gathered through the game, and your total time played. In terms of controls, classic Sonic feels very much like classic Sonic of older Genesis titles, up until he gets the homing attack. And while that doesn't really change his controls, it does offer a different way to play those classic levels, which some fans may or may not like. I didn't mind it personally, but each to their own. The modern Sonic sections were similarly tight, with the occasional instance where during one of the speed sections Sonic would get turned around and go in the opposite direction of the way I wanted him to go. It didn't happen very often, but again it was kind of odd when it did. In terms of sound design and music, the game does excel. The classic and remixed versions of the tracks are very well done and very pleasing to the ear. Cutscenes only have minor voice work done. Usually they'll only say one or two words as a phrase like hey or yeah, and most of the storyline is told through static cutscenes with text pop-ups. The storyline here is once again wafer thin, and yet it somehow is lacking some of the humor that enveloped and filled the console version. Unlike the console version, though, I can't shake the feeling that classic Sonic took a secondary role to modern Sonic in this version. On an interesting note, if you're looking to change the language of Sonic Generations, it isn't actually in the options menu. You have to go into the system hardware options and change it from there. However, despite these issues aside, I still had a lot of fun playing Sonic Generations, and will continue playing it in the future. It's not quite up to the Nintendo level of quality yet, but it's close. In fact, I'll be very interested to see how this formula changes and evolves on the next iteration on 3DS. With only a $10 difference between the console version and the 3DS version of Sonic Generations, if you have the hardware, go with the HD version. It's more fitting for Sonic's birthday. However, if you only have 3DS hardware, there's still lots to love here.